Shabbat Shalom and welcome to our Shabbat morning service. We are coming to you from our beautiful sanctuary. Our building is closed to the public until further notice. As always, links to our Siddur can be found in the Facebook event for this service. In addition, a digital flip book that we always have, we have created a prayer book packet for this morning. It's a PDF, and you may find a link in the comments for this service. Important information will also appear in the comments during the service. And for that, we thank Dave Zucker and Riley Hendricksy for managing all our streamings.
And further, if you have technical issues this morning, you can reach out to our digital docent, Riley Hendricksy. She'll be putting her phone number in the comments. And that way, if it's an urgent technical need, urgent and immediate, you can text her and she can walk you through it and get you back on technological track. And our comment section remains open for checking in with each other and sharing joys of Shabbat.
Thank you, Leslie. If you are watching, please say Shabbat Shalom in the comments line and click return. A reminder about our page numbers. If you have two sets, we are following the numbers in the square brackets. So go ahead and find Shabbat morning service Roman numeral number 2 in your Mishkan Tefillah, or it will be the first page of our prayer packet. The page numbers are at the bottom corners of the image, and if you're following the service on the PDF file, we will be using all the pages. Please remember to keep your comments to Shabbat-worthy topics, and we suggest that you take notes and send us an email next week with your comments. We thank you in advance, and Shabbat Shalom. On page 288, we join together in singing Modeh Ani.
מלך חי וקיים, שהחזרת בי נשמתי בחמלה, בחמלה, רבה אמונתך, רבה אמונתך. לפניך, מלך חי וקיים, שהחזרת בי נשמתי מחמלה, לחמלה, רבה אמונתך, רבה אמונתך.
We continue together on page 291. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe. With divine wisdom you have made our bodies, combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a finely balanced network. Wondrous maker and sustainer of life, were one of them to fail, how well we are aware we would lack the strength to sustain life before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, source of our health and strength. Baruch atah Adonai, rofeh chol basar umafli la'asot. We continue together with Elohai Neshamai on page 292.
Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi tehorahi Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi הנשמה שנתת בי טהורה היא.
On page 293, we together pray the blessings for the daily miracles. Nisim Bechol Yom 293.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לשכל בבינה להבחין בין יום ובין לילה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם פוקח עבריים. ברוך אתה אדוני מלך העולם מתיר אסורים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם זוקף כפופים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם רוקע הארץ על המים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המכין מצעדי גבר. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם מלביש ערומים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם הנותן ליהב כוח. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המעביר שינה מעיני ותמונה מעפעפיי. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בצלם אלוהים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בן חורין. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוזר ישראל בגבורה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוזר ישראל בתפארה.
On page 302, we join together in singing in the middle of the page with the words Tzadik Katamar, Psalm 92, a psalm, a song for Shabbat.
צדיק אתה אמר יפרח כארז בלבנון בלבנון יזכה שתולים בבית אדוני בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו עוד ינובון בשיבה דשנים ברעננים יהיו להגיד כי ישר אדוני צורי ולא עוולה תבוא.
Page 306, we continue with Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Kol ha-Shabbat, hallelujah, hallelujah, Kol ha-Shabbat,
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
On page 317, we prepare for the recitation of the Shema, which will be found on page 318. First, we say the blessing together on page 317. O God, inspiration and guide for all, You have spoken in 1,000 tongues for us to hear, in every land and every age. Your children have heard you and imagined you in separate ways. And yet, O God, you are one unifier of humanity. We give thanks for the sages and teachers who bring us understanding of your will. Gratefully we recall the lawgivers and prophets, the psalmists and sages of Israel, and joyfully we remember that from the dawn of Israel's life we will turn to you and find purpose. May the teachings of our ancestors live on in our minds, and their passion for righteousness stir our hearts. Help us to live so that our daily conduct reveals the beauty and wisdom of your truth.
Baruch
אתה אדוני, הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בעם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להוד על ידיך, מלטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים אלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Amen. Page 322, we continue together with Mi Chamocha.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, אוסף פלא, אוסף פלא, רוח חדשה שיבחו גאולים, לשמך על שפת הים. כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, אוסף פלא, אוסף פלא, אוסף פלא.
We continue now with our Amidah, our standing prayer. And this is an opportunity for each one of us to spend some quiet moments on this Shabbat. You may choose to follow the traditional prayers from page 323 to page 337, to offer a prayer from your own hearts, to take a moment for meditation and a private time with yourself or your loved ones at home. We begin with Sur Israel on page 322.
Sur Israel, kuma mezchat Israel,
ובדחינו מך
Yehuda Israel,
גואלנו
Adonai tzvaot shemo, Kadosh Israel, Baruch atah Adonai,
גאל ישראל.
Adonai
שפתי תפתח, ופי יגיד תהילתך.
Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. אמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. 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 יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
We're coming now to the service for the reading of the Torah on page 367. And now that we're out of our chairs, I don't know if we should actually do our own hakafah here or not. Maybe next time, we'll see. Well, the camera person is going to have to really follow us around the sanctuary. But we'll try that some other time. Well,
We're just back and forth.
they've been talking about putting a pro cam on my head, so I can.
We'll just do a tiny, next week, we'll do a tiny hakafah around.
All right, okay.
You can hakafah all you want to. I'm going to stand here and sing.
Also, I want to say something about the Torah service. We're trying this new setup mostly for the Shabbat morning because we want to be able to take the Torah out. And we will eventually, one thing at a time. But I am happy to announce that now we may be able to have again Torah honors and during Shabbat. So if you are interested in participating in the service by having an aliyah or doing a reading, doing the blessings, reading Haftarah, we have already someone reading Torah next week. Please let us know during the week. We'll set you up. It takes some training, but it's doable, and we'll love to have you.
Yeah,
You saw Aviva was with us last night, and that's how we're going to do it.
That's what I would like to add. If you are interested and feel comfortable with the technology, because we're not bringing people into the building yet, we are still closed to larger groups other than us, but so
We'll be able
be
to
technological.
bring you in technologically. So think about it. We'll love to have you, and I know some of you have had parts in our service regularly. So we're trying to bring that back. So let us know. During the week, we'll slowly go. We're not doing an official sign-up yet because, again, you may say, yes, I want to do it, and then you'll get a call from our technical people, and they explain to you what it is, and then you'll decide if you're comfortable.
Right.
It's not rocket science, but it does take some, I think. So until that time when we have more participation, we're doing most of it, and we begin together with Al Shlosha Devarim on page 367.
על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. על שלושה דברים, 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 העולם עומד.
Nice.
Nice.
I hope you all just had as much fun as we did. It's nice to start feeling all the joy come back. I mean, not that we weren't enjoying ourselves, but as we add comfort and pieces of technology and knowing that you all are out there, it just really, I can feel the ruach.
And it's nice not to be seated for everything.
Yes.
It's hard
Yeah.
to sing and speak when you're always sitting. So. One word of explanation about what we're doing. Some of you are familiar with the Hebrew calendar, and the Hebrew calendar has a life of its own. In addition to that, there is a distinction made between people who live in Israel and people who live outside the land of Israel. So we follow sometimes two different kinds of calendars when it comes to the Torah portions. And on top of all that, there is the Reform practice, which we normally, it's kind of a hybrid. So we follow most of the readings outside of the land of Israel, but some holidays we celebrate as if they were in the land of Israel, so one day. But then we want to stay as close to the Torah readings in the diaspora outside of Israel as we can. And it doesn't happen very often, but it just happened because the second day of Shavuot was on Shabbat.
Oh, yeah.
That means that the reading for the Torah on that day would have been outside of the land of Israel, the reading for the second day of Shavuot, which we do not observe in the Reform movement or in our congregation. And so the following week, this Shabbat would have been outside of the land of Israel, Parashat Naso. But if we would have gone ahead and do Parashat Naso last Shabbat, then we'll be off from the diaspora readings for a few months, maybe for a long time.
Oof.
So one solution is to do Naso twice. So we did Naso last Shabbat, and we're doing Naso this Shabbat. We're reading the beginnings of the third, the three portions, the first triennial section, which we did last week. So today we're going to do something different. We're going to read the Haftarah for Naso, which we haven't been reading regularly in our service, and we'll try to bring back slowly some of those things, especially if we have participants. It'd be nice to do that. So today we're going to read a section from the Haftarah for Naso. So I want to give some context to that and maybe offer some interpretations on that particular one. The Haftarah for Naso comes from the book of Judges, chapter 13, and it's part of the story of a great hero of the Judges. His name was Samson, and some of you know that I like opera. Maybe like is too short of a word,
Yeah,
right?
it's an understatement.
An understatement. And the opera by Camille Saint-Saëns called Samson et Dalila is a very nice opera. Has one of the most famous arias, both for the mezzo-soprano and the tenor, and some great music. Very romantic. So the opera doesn't really cover this week's Torah portion. Haftarah doesn't cover the birth of Samson, but the idea is that Samson comes from a sort of miraculous birth, so to speak.
Don't think I knew that.
Now, you may recall from your readings in the Torah that the story of the birth of Isaac that appears in Genesis 18, in Parashat Va'era, is the story of Abraham sitting at the front of, at the gate of his tent in the middle of the heat of the day, and some messengers come and they announce to Abraham that a son will be born to Sarah. The same happens to Manoach and his wife. So as we open the Haftarah portion, which we will read again, verse number 3 on chapter 13 says, "An angel of the Lord appeared to the woman and said to her." Now, in the story of Abraham, we have three men who appear, and then it turns out that maybe one of them is God and the other are messengers, we don't know. But here in the text, in the Hebrew, says, Vayera Malach Adonai, and Vayera is the same word that is used in the book of Genesis. So anybody who knows the story of Vayera will immediately associate it with the story of Samson. And so Samson is sort of an important character because he is born very similarly to how Yitzchak, Isaac, was born. Now, what is the actual connection between the Torah portion and the Haftarah? The Torah portion does not mention Samson or any of this. But the connection is a sort of an obscure tradition. And I say this obscure because we haven't really practiced as a people some of these laws in a long time. And there are doubts as to whether in the ancient world they were really practiced or not. And these are the laws concerning the Nazarite. A Nazir, it's a person who, by a vow, is consecrated to God, to the service of God. Now, in the Torah portion, the person chooses to become a Nazarite, man or woman. In the Haftarah, we find that Samson is consecrated to God even before he was born. So he doesn't get to choose any of the things that come with being a Nazarite. And in the Haftarah, we will read that the mother of Samson is asked to do some of the things that are expected of a Nazarite, like abstaining from drinking, which I think is a good thing if you're pregnant. Right. We now learned in the 20th century, but maybe it wasn't obvious in the ancient world, or maybe just a few decades ago, probably. This is something that make Samson a very special individual, and this is the background of the story of Samson and his mighty strength. And they come from the fact that he was dedicated to God from conception, and this is very unusual in the biblical tradition. And he is now, when he's born, he will have power that will transcend all ordinary limits. If you know the story of Samson and Delilah, or Delilah in Hebrew, the power of part of the power of Samson was in his hair, right? So, and that is because one of the traditions in the Nazarite vows is not to shave or cut your hair. And so when Delilah finds out that that's what gave him power, then she ends it. But it's not really if you know the story of Samson, especially chapter 13, you realize that it's not really what gave him power. What gave him power was his consecration to God. And part of that was to keep the vows of not shaving his head. So when he shaves his head, then the vows are broken, and therefore that's how he loses his. So he loses his power because he breaks the vows, not because. And I think that the vows also included not having any affairs, or being with Delilah the way he did, and all those things. So he was already in trouble to begin with. But so in both cases, we haven't talked about the Nazarite in the Torah portion, but in this case, the experiment of a Nazarite doesn't quite work out, because at the end, Samson, who had not really made the vows, breaks those same vows. But the real big question, I think, that the rabbis have asked on both cases is the wisdom behind this idea of making vows to that extreme. And as you would expect in most Jewish things, especially when they're not clear-cut, and most things are not, there are really very strong divided opinions concerning the Nazarite. And the question is he or she aspiring voluntarily to a higher level of holiness, or is he or she a person who has trouble controlling his or her impulses, and therefore needs to have some limits imposed on their behavior that will be not required for everybody else? In other words, is this someone who is in absolute control of everything in their lives, and they just want to take it to a different level, or they're totally out of control and they need some limits? And we don't know for sure. And many of the commentators can go either way. Now, I think I tend to dislike Nazarites and this whole idea, because I tend to dislike fanaticism when it comes to religion, and that's my interpretation of the Nazarite. The Nazarites are someone who, at least in my mind, wanted to be holier than thou kind of thing. And the Torah specifically says that this is term limit. You can't do it forever. You have to have a beginning and an end.
Okay.
So you can't take vows forever. And I don't know if you remember Simon the Just, but you should know who Simon the Just is, because he's the guy who said, Al shlosha devarim ha'olam omed, al Torah, al avodah, ve'al gemilut chasadim, which has sang. He had a lot of other things to say, and about the Nazarite, Shimon HaTzadik says, who was a high priest in the days of the Second Temple, made it a practice never to eat of the offerings brought by a Nazarite. So at the end of the Nazarite period, the person, when the temple stood, will bring a special offering, according to the book of Numbers, to be offered at the temple. And Shimon HaTzadik felt that the Nazarite's vows were made in a moment of excessive guilt or excessive enthusiasm, and therefore were not wholehearted. Maimonides, who kind of agrees with Shimon HaTzadik, who is very uncomfortable with the Nazarite extremism, also urges the path of moderation in food and drink and in other matters. And he writes, "It is not sufficient for you to abstain from what the Torah has forbidden, that you should seek to forbid yourself other things as well."
Yeah.
Indeed, another sage, Rav, taught, in the world to come, people will have to account for all the good food God put in their world, which they refuse to eat. With this pandemic, we've been, I think, all eating more than we should, probably. And but I really like this. It's like there's good food out there, and saying I won't eat it is almost an affront to God,
right,
according to Rav, that we should be eating good stuff, all that. But I think that the bottom line is that the reason why I and many of us dislike the Nazarite idea is that they seem to see the pleasure of God's world as a source of evil and temptation. They see liquor and food and all the things that could tempt them as a source of something that will drive them over the edge. And to me, that's kind of a negative way of approaching the world. I thought about this Haftarah and said, how can I connect it to anything that's going on in the world? And I said, you know what? Sometimes we need Shabbat as a place of rest from what's going on in the world. Last night we spent time talking about the whole week and the pandemic and all that. At some level, I resist to have the president or whoever is in charge to dictate what I should say on every Shabbat. It's like
I agree.
we give him enough space on Twitter and all that, and already I just did it, and I apologize for even mentioning that, because I think that we need to find time for our own sanity to stay away from some of the things during Shabbat. And not everything is about politics, not everything is about the world out there. Some things are about the life of the Spirit and how we deal with some things like temptations and things that trouble us in general, which are going to stay here after the pandemic and after 4, 8 years, whatever it is that he's around. Things are still going to be around here, and I just find this more comforting to me to be able to think about Torah and learning, and not always trying to figure out how we connect this to what's going on outside in the world. So I hope that you find some comfort in learning words of Torah together on this Shabbat, and they may apply to our life, but they may not apply to the protests in the streets or the last photo op that the president decided to do. I will invite everybody to join us on the blessings for the Haftarah. And we also have prepared for you a link for the Haftarah reading. It is on Sepharia, and I'm going to try to get it on my own computer here. If you give me just 1 second. We are reading the Haftarah for Parashat Naso. It's from the book of Judges. We're going to read chapter 13, verses 2 through 6, and then 24 to 23. And the reason is because we don't read the whole thing. But what happens is that at the beginning, we have the story of the Annunciation of Samson, and then Manoah comes in and does what it says, and then he's born. So we read the beginning. The actual doing of what it's supposed to do happens in the middle, and then at the end, Samson is born. On page 372, we join together in reciting the Haftarah blessings. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar b'nviim tovim, ורצה בדבריהם הנאמרים באמת. ברוך אתה, אדוני, הבוחר בתורה ובמשה עבדו ובישראל עמו ובנביאי האמת והצדק.
Amen.
There was a certain man from Zorah of the stock of Dan, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren and had born no children. An angel of Adonai appeared to the woman and said to her, "You are barren and have borne no children, but you shall conceive and bear a son. Now be careful not to drink wine or other intoxicant, and to eat anything unclean, for you are going to conceive and bear a son. Let no razor touch his head, for the boy is to be a Nazarite to God from the womb on. He shall be the first to deliver Israel from the Philistines." The woman went and told her husband, "A man of God came to me. He looked like an angel of God, very frightening. I did not ask him where he was from, nor did he tell me his name." Then they do what he says, and the woman bore a son, and she named him Samson, Shimshon. The boy grew up, and Adonai blessed him. The spirit of Adonai first moved him in the encampment of Dan between Zorah and Eshtaol. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol haolamim, tzadik bechol hadorot, ha'ela ne'eman, ha'omer ve'oseh, ha'mdaber u'mekayem, shkol dvarav emet v'tzedek, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו לקדושה ולמנוחה לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך, יתברך שמך בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. As we gather on this Shabbat and we heard words of wisdom, of Torah, and of learning, we take a moment and find this time a good time to offer prayers for healing, healing for our world, healing for those who are in need of health and recovery among our friends and families, members of our congregation. We have a list that you can access through the e-news that you received yesterday, and you can also follow the list in the comments. If you'd like to offer names, please type them in the comments so we can all see them. Please go ahead and type the names now.
Of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Me. With refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
And to all those who are in need of healing, we add a prayer for those who help in healing. May the one who blessed and led our forebears give countenance unto those who provide help for the ill and troubled among us. May they be filled with fortitude and courage, endowed with sympathy and compassion, as they give strength to those at their side. May they fight against despair and continue to find within themselves the will to reach out to those in need. And in their love of others, may they feel the blessing of community and the blessing of renewed faith.
And let us say Amen.
We conclude our section of reading Torah and Haftarah by singing together the words of our prayers on page 370 for Etz Chaim.
Etz Chaim hi, lamachazikim ba, v'tomcheha, le'ushai, le'racheha, darchei noam, v'chol netivotea, shalom, hashiveinu Adonai, elecha v'nashuva, chadesh yameinu kekedem.
Beginning on page 592, we prepare for our moment of remembrance. I invite you to share a meditation on page 595. יש כוכבים שאורם מגיע ארצה, רק כאשר הם עצמם עבדו ואינם. There are stars up above, so far away, we only see their light long, long after itself, that star is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways that we remember. As we think of our loved ones, we continue to honor the memory of George Floyd and the 110,000 almost who perished through the pandemic that we are all in the middle of just in our country. This moment, we also think of our loved ones whose death has recently taken from us. We are observing the Shloshim period for Beth Torah member Bernard Barney Barash, for Ruth Sain's mother and mother-in-law of Howard and Gloria Pittler, and for Beth Torah member Nancy Jonas Wilson. And on this Shabbat, we remember the following yortzites of members of our congregation: Michael Becker, Isabel Berman, Martine Bordeaux, Richard Campbell, Saul F. Cantor, Jesse Raymondes, Ruby Fleiter, Ben Hellman, Shirley Hellman, Marcia Handler, Chester Kaplan, Irving Kay, Rose Klinock, Julia Lustgarden, Eddie Orland, William Pittler, Vicky Stein-Polman, Robert Rees, Frank Romano, Ruth Ronai, Pearl Schaefer, Leo Tiven, and Margaret Ward. If you're joining us and are remembering a loved one, a friend, a relative, please feel free to add their names on our comment lines. Zichronam livracha, may the memories be for a blessing. Blessing, page 598, we join together in Kaddish Yatom. Itgadal veitkadash shemei rabba, ve'alema divra chirute ve'amlich malchute, בחייכון ובימיכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דע מירם בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, לחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
You know what time it is. It's time for announcements. I don't know why that tickles me so much, but it really does.
It is part of our tradition, first, to thank everyone who has joined us from our area and from around the world. Thank Leslie for lovely music, and Dave Zucker and Riley Hendricksy for volunteering their time to help our congregation have this wonderful virtual presence. Just a reminder that our building is closed and that our entire staff can be reached via email or Facebook Messenger. We are here for you. Just let us know. Our next Facebook Live Shabbat service will be Friday, June the 12th at 6:30 p.m. If you would like to join us for our Torah study, the Sichat Shabbat will take place next Saturday at 9 a.m. on Zoom. Please leave your email in the comments, and we will add you to that distribution list. A few reminders. The summer Hebrew class is beginning. Please consider joining the class. We need a few more students to be able to have the class really sustain itself. So if you're interested and we're on the fence, this is the time. We have information for you on our Facebook, but if you have any questions, again, just text us and let us know. Jewish Family Services is asking for contributions. They're still feeding the hungry and helping lots of members of our community, general community in the area. And please check out our Facebook and their Facebook, and you'll get information about how to make a contribution. And finally, a reminder that the Kansas City area still has an urgent need for blood donors, and we're not holding our regular blood drives here in the building, but donating blood is still a way to help save lives. So visit our Facebook page for more information about how to do that in these times. It's needed always, but more now, because a lot of people are not going out, so it's
Right,
harder.
yeah, I mean, people can't have their ancillary blood drives. A lot of places like us have regular blood drives, but since our buildings are closed and there's concerns about how to do it more safely, it's kind of contained to the blood drive specific units.
That's right.
So we definitely need to be stepping up there. So I'm glad somebody reminded us so that we could remind everyone else. And next week you get 2 chances for music beyond the services. So Wednesday, I'm doing my regular song session that's going to be on the Beth Torah Facebook page. And then on Monday, Michelle Cox and I are going to do a little concert. Monday, 7 o'clock, and that will be on my personal Facebook page, and then she'll also be streaming it onto her page. And I will share that event to one of the Beth Torah pages so that you can see how to get there, because we're going to do our favorite prayer settings, and we've each written some melodies for our favorite prayers ourselves, so it should be fun.
Nice. Finally, please check us out on Facebook, like our page, follow our page, leave us comments about the service and other virtual events that we have or you would like us to have. That works too. Have a Shabbat Shalom, and please stay safe. Wear your masks in public, and join us on page 625 as we sing together Adon Olam.
Adon Olam,
Adon Olam,
Hashem Malach,
Asher Malach,
B'terem Kol,
B'terem Kol,
Yitzir Nivra,
L'tzit Nivra,
Le'ed Nasa,
Le'ed Nasa V'cheso Kol, Azay Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, Ve'acharei Kiklot HaKol, Levado Yimloch Nara Adon Olam, Ve'hu Haya, Ve'hu Hoveh, Ve'hu Yeh B'tifara Adon Olam,
Adon Olam,
Adon Olam,
Hashem Malach,
Asher Malach,
B'terem Kol,
B'terem Kol,
Yitzir Nivra,
Yasir Nivra,
Le'ed Nasa,
לעת נסע וחצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם. בידו הפקיד רוחי, בעת ישן ואהירה אדון עולם. ואם רוחי יביאתי, אדוני לי ולא ירא אדון עולם.
Adon Olam,
אדון עולם,
Hashem Malach,
אשר מלך
B'terem Kol,
בטרם כל,
Yitzir Nivra,
יציר נברא,
Le'ed Nasa,
לעת נסע וחצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם. Shabbat
Shabbat
Shalom,
Shalom,
everybody.
everyone.